What up and welcome. Golden Era League Update numero dos, November 12th through the 29th. About 18 games for most of these teams into the NBA 23-34 season. We're just ahead of really what would be the main trade season, but already the New Orleans Pelicans are tearing things down. As broken by Anthony Nojic of ESPN, New Orleans is sending Shane Ruffin to the Toronto Raptors for Parker Osborne, Anton Forte, and a 2038 first. New Orleans 6-16. Very disappointing start. Of course, they acquired Shane Ruffin last season during the draft. They sent the number 26 pick to Golden State. That ended up becoming Jalen House, as well as a 2035 lottery-protected first. So in essence, they're trading the 26th overall pick and the 2035 pick to the Raptors for 2038. Head over to the standings. The Thunder, they're sitting pretty, rolling off a good start to the season at 13-4. Golden State, they're winners of 8 of their last 10, though they just did see their winning streak lose and fall out to the Phoenix Suns in that 10-game stretch. Their 2 losses to teams over 500, San Antonio and Phoenix. All 8 losses came against teams under 500. Eastern Conference, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, Brooklyn Nets, all with 15 wins apiece, sitting atop the Eastern Conference standings. Speaking of the Brooklyn Nets, they had their 10-game winning streak snapped, but they do have the 4th best defense in the league. Brighton Reed carrying the offensive show, 34 points, 9 assists in November. Rashawn Matthews, 20, 17, and 4 over the last month, as they are still without Louis Morgan, but perhaps that pairing of Reed and Matthews is just what works best for the Nets. We add 2 more names to the 50-point club, Tyrese Alston and Tobias Bell. Alston goes for 52 points on November 24th against Portland, a 127-126 win. He hits 10 three-pointers for the Kings. Meanwhile, Tobias Bell on November 28th, he goes for 52, 4, and 5, hits 8 threes of his own, a 132-10 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Alston and Bell, though, would be no strangers to big nights. On November 15th, Alston scores 47 points, hits 11 three-pointers in a 145-98 win over the Denver Nuggets. Tobias Bell, on November 19th, goes for 46 points, 3 boards, and 4 assists in a 110-70 win over the Sixers. Meanwhile, Minnesota coming back to it. We talked about that 52-point game on November 28th. How about 92 combined points as Noja Sesnoskis jumps in for 40 points of his own. They combine the two of them, Sesnoskis and Bell, 92, 10, and 9 with 3 steals and 15 made threes. Talked about Brighton Reed having a good month of November, 48 points on November 15th, a 122-84 victory over the New York Knicks. And Amari Swift, how about 46, 8, and 5 with 6 made three-pointers against the lowly Clippers. They win that shootout 139-125. Let's start with our scoring leader. It's still Tobias Bell. He sits atop 34.5 points per game ahead of Brighton Reed, Javon Stokes, Tyrese Alston, and Ty Outlaw. Familiar name across the rebounding leaders, Rashawn Matthews, 16.9 boards, 2 better than Cameron Sullivan. Zeke Naji out of Denver, he creeps into the top 5 at 13.5 per game. New face atop the assist leaders. Big drop-off from Kareem Robinson, nearly 2 assists fewer per game after a hot start. It's LaMelo Ball to round out the end of November, sitting atop the leaderboard over Jacob Cuxis, Robinson, Jonathan Malhuer, and still Luka Doncic coming in at number 5. Our steal leaders, it's still Tyrese Alston, 2.2 per game, though he's tied statistically, though he has more total steals than Ty Outlaw. 2 others in the 2 range, Jonathan Kuminga, Caleb Love, and Savion White, the ferocious defender for the Blazers at 1.9. And a huge block month in the NBA. Cameron Sullivan leaping from 1.9 blocks per game up to 3.7. He is your league leader as we turn the calendar, at least prepare to, into the month of December. Some notable injuries. Memphis Reed, he's still going to be out 6 to 8 months. He'll be on this list for really the foreseeable future and beyond. Zane Bennett, a torn right MCL, a disastrous turn of events here for the Washington Wizards. He's expected to be out 1 to 2 months. Washington has really struggled. They're coming in, sitting now at 10-9, but they'll have to do it without Zane Bennett. Sidney Cross, meanwhile, missed some time early in the season, now a back injury after suffering a calf injury earlier for the San Antonio Spurs. They've yet to really unleash this new group that they've got. Looking ahead through our update number 3, which will encompass November 30th through December 16th, we'll have Toronto and Boston. That one's coming to you from Toronto. And then follow that one up with Brooklyn playing host to the Golden State Warriors. There's a good chance Louis Morgan is back for that one as the Nets try to keep their run going, and they'll face the 3-time defending champions. Of course, all the content dropping here on the YouTube channel. Appreciate you tuning in for it. But make sure also you're tuning in over on Operation Sports. The bounce that's going to drop in accompanying this video. We've got the Golden State Warriors website, kind of a fill-in on where they've been throughout this season. Also, we'll do columns are over there. So make sure you're tuning in both here on YouTube, but also on Operation Sports for the fully immersive experience, both written and video content. But as always, appreciate you tuning in. If any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Get to every single one of them. Thank you for tuning in. We're coming up with the Golden Era podcast coming up next.